Today we're continuing our discussion of how we know with no reasonable doubt that acetaminophen exposure in susceptible babies and children is causing many, if not most, cases of autism. Now, this is the final lecture in this series. This is part 11, lines of evidence number 19 and 20 out of 20 total. It's the last one that concludes our summary of evidence. And then you can see all the other lines of evidence in our previous videos that we've published on this topic. So line of evidence number 19 and 20 are about sort of weird observations that people see, they put in the scientific literature, but they don't know what to make of it. So line of evidence number 19 is a very, very high rates, very high prevalence of autism, and in around 2012 that was found in South Korea. And people don't understand, they would think we're measuring it the same way other people are measuring it. So what's up with this? Why are we seeing such high rates of autism? Now, the dots that were never connected are that, well, also at the same time, they were having manufacturing problems with their children's acetaminophen, and they were just putting too much active ingredient in the formulation. So all these kids all over South Korea were getting overdosed with acetaminophen by accident. So, of course, they did look and say, well, they're not getting liver damage. And this goes back to a false assumption. The false assumption is anybody who gets an overdose of acetaminophen, if it's causing problems, is going to cause liver damage. That's true in adults, absolutely true in adults. It is absolutely not true in babies and children. They tend to get brain damage. And we know this from studies in laboratory animals and all the other lines of evidence that we've talked about. So they thought no harm done, but they did have, tragically, very, very high prevalence of autism. And that's line of evidence number 19 from South Korea. Line of evidence number 20 is from Israel. Now, in Israel, what they found is that the Orthodox Jews have very low rates, very low prevalence of autism, and the Reform Jews have much higher prevalence of autism. So what's up with that? Why should autism be associated with religion? It doesn't seem to be their location or their wealth. It's just their religion. Now, there's been some explanations proposed, but they don't really hold a lot of weight. They don't make a lot of sense. What does make sense, though, is the fact that the Reform Jews are using acetaminophen. The Orthodox Jews, super, super traditional, are not using acetaminophen. Now, the Jewish tradition in general, which is maintained by a lot of the Reform Jews, as well as certainly the Orthodox Jews, is that there's a little bit of ritual alcohol use that will cause some oxidative stress. But the big deal here, this is done very close to the time of birth, which is a time of incredible oxidative stress. So babies in general are very susceptible right around the time of birth. Their mother's liver is no longer there for the first time in the baby's life. Their mother's liver is not there to help out metabolizing this drug. So they're just very susceptible to the drug. And so what's going on is that you've got the Orthodox Jews are just not, the only big difference is the Orthodox Jews aren't giving the trigger. They're not giving the acetaminophen. The Reform Jews are, and that's why we believe you're seeing these very high prevalence of autism in the Reform Jews compared to the Orthodox Jews. And that's line of evidence number 20 out of 20. Now, these two lines of evidence in particular are very circumstantial. So by themselves, they wouldn't sway our thinking too much about what's causing autism. But when you add them to everything else that we've talked about and all these other videos, which we posted online on YouTube and Instagram, and you can go back and check them, all of that together, that gives us the no reasonable doubt that acetaminophen is causing many, if not most, cases of autism.
Great.
Did I do it? Cool.